Hi everybody. I'm going to do another installment in the reading of our catalog from 1905, full of all these stories that this lovely young lady, Bertha, cut out and pasted into this hardware catalog. So this is another installment. Now I'm going to be changing this up. This will be the last one that's directly on YouTube. I have a page in Facebook that I will make sure is in the link below, and I'm going to have it as the first comment. So I'm going to start doing the stories in there because I know not everybody on YouTube loves these videos or whatever. I love the videos, but I'm going to put it in a different place just to keep the, my YouTube page kind of along the same flow that I've been doing. And I really love this idea of reading. So this is going to be on Facebook, and I have so many other more materials to read. So I want to continue doing this. I love this. I'm not sure if you love it, but we're going to do some more really fun readings. And I don't know, I did my last box opening, and in the box was a book from 1901 with more fiction stories in it. Ah! And then Sunny and I got some items from this lovely, lovely Lisa. Oh, you're fabulous. And there's 2 magazines in there, and there's also lovely fiction stories in those as well. So I want to continue this stream, but I'm going to change the location. So this will be the last one on YouTube, and then from here on out, the stories will be flipped over onto Facebook. And again, it will be down in the description. If you don't know me, my name is Carrie. I'm the Desert Mermaid. Hello, I'm from Buffalo, New York, but I now live in Las Vegas. I'm a thrifting, reselling person. I'm still a little bit of a newbie to the filming, so forgive me for my bloops and bloopers and blips and blops and whatever the heck. But, where every day is a new day. And I'm hoping by showing you I completely changed my life, you can do it too. Don't let anything hold you back. You can do whatever you choose to do with your life whenever you feel like it. Because guess what? We can. So let's get to the reading, okay? Also, my email is included down below as well. After I'm finished reading this book, I'm doing a giveaway. So please email me at 716desertmermaid@gmail.com. I'll make sure it's in the description, but I'll make sure that it's also where the new location for the readings are going to be. I'm going to, and actually, if you notice, my hair looks like this because I got my hairs did yesterday. Me and Jeffrey Parker went for our haircut to my fantastic hairdresser, Chastity, who I love very much. She's such a sweetheart. So anyway, she always does me very well. So I look great for a day or two, and then it goes back to Carrie's floofy mess. So I'm sorry, Chastity. But thank you for making me fabulous for a few days. I appreciate it. So anyway, let's get to reading. I'm going to have to take the spectacles off because it's, yeah, no, I might be able to keep them on. Let's see what we could do here. So, and I also have a little bit of background music. Let's make this kind of fun, right? So I'm going to have to try to do all this together. And here we go. Why Uncle changed his will. Mr. Owens slowly drew a fat green pod from the middle with his thumb. Oh, wait, I read it wrong. I'm so sorry. Let me turn the music down a tiny bit. I got it a little too loud. Let's turn her down a little bit. Can't hear myself think. Restart. Why Uncle changed his will. Mr. Owens slowly drew a fat green pod from the basket beside him, split it down the middle with his thumb, and sent the peas rattling into the pan between his knees. Then he took his pipe from his mouth and yawned broadly. Slow job, this, shellin' peas, ain't it? Yes, said I. I often wonder that no one has invented a way of shelling them by machinery. Now it takes a good deal to disturb Mr. Owen's serenity and peace of mind, but my innocent remark caused the phlegmatic gentleman to dash the empty pod vindictively to the ground and break out in a sputter of wrath. Invention, he snorted. Don't ever say invention to me again. I wish every feller that ever invented anything was hung. Wow, okay. He would not be happy nowadays, would he? I was much surprised and asked him to explain. After some coaxing, Mr. Owens complied with my wish and began. Oh boy, okay, so this is going to be it's a bit of a southern twang, I believe, here, so forgive my god-awful accent, but here we go. You never seed Maria's, my wife's, Uncle Ephem, did yer? No? Well, the richer in the steel trust he was, and had 30 acres up gardens, oh boy, and a fish wire, and a quarter interest in a mackerel boat, and Lord knows what more, besides a lot of cash in the bank. Maria and her first cousin, Siddy, I'm going to take the glasses off, was the only near relations he had after his wife, Aunt Olindy, that was, died. Well, Siddy and her old man and Marla and me figured considerable on the old man's money, and who was a gonna to get it when the old man pegged out. Siddy and her tribe wasn't on speaking terms with me and Maria, owing to a little squabble we had over a dog he owned that bit my brindle heifer and scared her so she ran into the railway track and got made into hash by the up train. There was a lawsuit and one thing or another to add to the general good feelings beside. Wow. So me and Maria guessed that none of the money was going to Siddy, and Siddy said the same thing about us. Uncle F was kinder impartial, as you might say. One spell he'd be for us and have his will fixed up so as we could get everything, and next, he would twist around and leave it all to another side of the fence. Fussed off, he come and lived with us, and he was a trial and no mistake, cross-grained and fussy and deef. He was so deef that a cannon might have gone off by his ear, and all he'd say would be, "What? Why don't you speak louder?" Me and Maria put up with it as best as we could and never give him any back answers and did our best to please him, knowing quite well that the meek inherit the earth. But he overdone it. He was dreadful fussy about his eating, and one time he took a notion for gooseberry pie. Nothing would do, but he must have gooseberry pie. So Maria, she cooked a big one, and he ate most the whole of it and was awful sick and swore we tried to poison him. He had his will changed, leaving everything to Sadie, and went off and lived with her and her old man for most a year. We was pretty down in the mouth, but everything comes to them who waits, and and bimeby. Okay. Some of these words, I just don't know what they are. I just don't know. And bimeby, he had a row with Sadie that beat the one he had with us all to pieces. You see, Siddy's old man is an inventor. Up to that time, nothing he invented was worth a cent, but he kept at it just the same, persistent as a hen that wants to set. Well, Uncle F took notions over there, same as he had done with us, and it came about that he thought the flies was pestering him at night arter he'd gone to bed. Seems as 'twas October, I guess the flies was mainly imagination, but he said there was millions of 'em around him every night, and that he couldn't get a wink of sleep. So Siddy's old man went to work and invented a machine for driving away the flies. He argued that if you were camping out or fishing or anything where there was lots of flies, that they'd bite like everything when it was calm, but if a breeze came up, they would all go off. So he rigged up a contrivance to hang over Uncle F's bed. 'Twas a kind of a windmill thing, like them fans they have in the city eating houses. It hung right over Uncle F's pillar and could be raised or lowered and pulled by a string to start it going. There was a windmill on the roof that was connected with it and give it the power. Well, the very first night Uncle F tried it, he laid down, lowered it close to his face, and hauled the rope that set her a-buzzing and went to sleep. Middle of the night he wakes up and heard a noise and thought 'twas thieves come to torture him for his money, so he sets up in bed and whack! One of the arms of that ere fly mill caught him right on the ear. He thought 'twas burglars sure then, and hollers, "Murder!" and "Help!" enough to wake the dead. And every time he'd sit up, that fly mill would knock him down again. He was pretty nigh used up when City and the old man got to him. So he was more down on City than 10,000 of bricks and made his will all over again, leaving everything to Maria and me, and back he comes to live with us. This time we thought we had him for keeps because he was so dead set against City and her tribe that the best name he could get for them was murderers, and if you mentioned in vengeance, he would rave for hours at a time. The story is something. Well, he comes along and stayed at our house. A couple years went by and he was still with us. Maria and me begun to put down a list of things we was going to buy when the property was ourn. New melodeon for the parlor, new whatnot, new cover for the sitting room Sophie, and any quantity of things. And the old man was getting older, crankier, and deefer every day. 'Twas a kind of relief to our own feelings to tell him what we thought of him, smiling all the time as if we was saying something mighty perlite. Course, when he'd ask what we was talking about, we'd holler that 'twas a fine day or like a that. You know how 'tis when a person is kind of hard of hearing. Got so it was kind of a joke, as you might say. I'd do it at the table just for fun. Have some bean to your old image? I'd ask him, the first part loud enough to take the roof off and the rest in an ordinary tone of voice, and then Maria'd pucker up her face to keep from larfing. For them 2 years he never mentioned city's folks except to run 'em down, but all at once he began to change his tune. Began to wonder how they was getting along, and said he would like to go see 'em, till Maria and me begun to get real worried. His 78th birthday was coming, and we thought 'twould please him if we made a kind of celebration of it. We talked it over some, and Maria said she'd get up a special good dinner and have a whopping birthday cake. I told her 'twas foolishness, but she was set on it and said he was old and childish and would be tickled to death, so I let her go ahead. Well, the morning of his birthday, I hitched up and drove to town to buy some hay for the cattle, 'cause we'd run out. Well, when I got home, I found Maria in an orful stew. Seems she'd gone over to the Nickersons to borrow some sugar, and she and Pashy Nickerson got talking about the minister's wife, how extravagant Nathaniel Nixon was since he got married, and one thing or another, till 'twas 11 o'clock before she started home. On the way she met Lysander Holmes, who drives the mail cart, and he says, left a package at your house. 'Twas for your Uncle F. We had a fine dinner and roast beef and plum pudding and heaven knows what, but nothing suited Uncle F. He growled at the victuals and said this was burnt and this was raw until I got madder'n a young heifer. Finally Maria went out and fetched the birthday cake. 'Twas a noble old cake, I tell yer. There was Uncle Ephem on it, done in red peppermint lozenges. Maria made the letters so big there wasn't room for the M on the end. Here's a big slice for you, Uncle, I howled, and then I says in my usual voice, looks as if it would poison yer, and I hope to goodness it will. Well, he just grinned and took the slice and began to eat it, and I sat down and pulled my mustache down so as he wouldn't see my lips move, and commented, I certainly did give it to him, but hot and heavy. Maria had to cough a half a dozen times to keep her from larfing out. See 'em eat, I'd say. We've got 'em this time. Every mouthful is just as good a deed to 2 acres of that hop field. Have some more? That's right. We'll keep the diff old reptile this time. I can see the melodeon in the parlor. Order the undertaker, Maria. This is the best day's work you ever done. When he had finished 3 whooping slices, I says, better have a little more, you old alligator. We want to kill yer quick. Don't want you hanging along. Then he gets up kinder slow and deliberate, lays down his knife and fork and says, no, he says. The old alligator won't have any more, and he's had enough of cake and other things. But I wouldn't order the melodeon this afternoon if I was you, and I wouldn't rely on picking them hops this season. And out of the room he walks, leaving me and Maria looking like a couple of wax men. He can hear, says she after a spell. He's heard every word we've said, says I. Then we both looked at each other and never said boo for as long as 5 minutes. Then we heard Uncle F come stumping down the stairs. He had his old plug hat on and his cane in his hand, and he walked out of the gate and down the road. You must follow him, says Maria. I grabbed my hat and ran after him, but he got to town first, went into the telegraph office. When he came out, I went in and tried to find out who he telegraphed, but he had left word with the clerk to tell no one, so I got no satisfaction. Maria was fairly Janin when I got home. He's upstairs in his room, she says, with the door locked, and he's throwing things around like all possessed. He's been deaf for years and years, and how can he hear now? I don't know, says I, but I do know our goose is cooked if we don't make it up with him somehow. So we went upstairs and pleaded and hollered through the keyhole for as much as an hour. Finally, I gave Maria a nudge, and we both broke out crying and sobbing like a couple of watering carts. But all the satisfaction we got was him a-telling us not to strain our lungs, as he could hear us if we didn't cry so much, like an engine whistle. At 4 o'clock, somebody drives up to the gate. It was Siddy's old man in his wagon. Uncle F comes hopping right down the stairs with his bag filled up. Oh, Uncle dear, sobs Maria, where you be going? The deef old reptile, he says, is going to find another burrow. And he climbs into the wagon. This is your doing, says I, shaking my fist at Siddy's old man. Yes, says he, grinning. I'm glad to say 'tis. Here's something you may be interested in. And he throwed me a piece of paper. 'Twas a printed circular, and it said, The deaf hear. Buds, that's Siddy's old man's name, marvelous out-of-sight eardrums for restoring the hearing. Ordinary conversation, easily understood, entirely invisible. And so on and so on. Them's my latest invention, said Siddy's old man. I sent Uncle F a pair for a birthday present. He's been wearing 'em ever since morning. You can hear ordinary conversation with 'em, can't you, Uncle? Yes, said the old man. An extraordinary conversation, too. Then they drove off, and I went in and kicked the remains of that birthday cake from the kitchen to the parlor and back again. The end. Oh, I don't think I'm so good with the accent, but oh my gosh, isn't it an adorable story? So we'll see you for the next chapter. Take care, guys. Bye.